Hi, welcome to another edition of STEAM Power at the Urbana Free Library. STEAM stands for science, tech, engineering, art, and mathematics, and today we're focusing on science, in particular, citizen science. Now, citizens are residents of a particular place, people who live, say, in Urbana-Champaign, Illinois. And scientists are people who study the natural world around them. To get more at the heart of what citizen scientists do, I'm going to speak with a friend of mine. His name is Rob Cantor. Now, Rob is a professor at the University of Illinois in the School of Earth, Society, and Environment. He also writes an article for the newspaper called the Environmental Almanac, and you can hear the Environmental Almanac also on the radio. Rob is a person who asks lots of questions. Not only does he ask questions, but he looks for answers, as all good scientists do. And Rob is a perfect person to tell us more about citizen science. Hi, Rob. How are you doing?
I'm good, Becky. How are you?
I am very well. Nice to see you.
It's good to be with you.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you if you could tell our viewers what you know about citizen science.
What I know about citizen science. Yeah. Well, most citizen science that I know of involves, there's the biggest thing that most people have heard of is the National Audubon Society Christmas bird count. And so I think if people are not familiar with citizen science, that's a good place to start. So that's where people from all over the country, all over the world, go out for a specified period in late December and early January and count birds. And then they send their information about what species they saw and how many they saw to a database that the National Audubon Society keeps. And that's one way of tracking populations of birds over time. So that's been going on for over 100 years. So that's like the biggest, oldest citizen science initiative in the world, as far as I know.
Why do scientists want citizens, just your everyday people, to help them out with this kind of science?
Well, a lot of this, when people say citizen science, a lot of it is observing what kind of plants and animals, other organisms are out there in the world, in yards, in parks, in just any place out there, because there aren't that many people who have that job of finding out about those things. There aren't enough people to go out and count all the birds who are biologists at universities. There aren't enough people who know about wildflowers to keep track of all of the wildflowers everywhere. So it helps to have people who are kind of, train themselves to understand what they're seeing, to add their observations to the observations made by professional scientists.
Yeah, so lots and lots of people can gather lots and lots of information.
Yes.
And so what kind of things have you been involved with that sort of are science out in the natural world?
Well, because I like birds so much, I do bird counts. And so some people think of the Christmas bird count as a thing, but it's actually, there are multiple Christmas bird counts that take place during the period. I do 4 of them, which means I get up before sunrise 4 mornings and I'm out for all of the daylight hours with some of my friends counting birds. And I do that again in the spring for a spring bird count. I also do some various other things that are less organized. I take pictures a lot, and when I see a bumblebee that I don't know, I try to get a picture of it, and there's a University of Illinois project called Bee Spotter, and if you upload your photographs of bumblebees, they'll help you identify them, and then they use that information to know what bumblebees are out there. It's pretty clear that the populations of bumblebees in the United States have been declining and continue to decline, so it helps to be able to track that, and it helps to be able to find them too. The Bee Spotter program in its first year had a woman who was a landscape architect taking pictures on her lunch hour in Springfield, found a rusty patched bumblebee, which hadn't been observed in central Illinois for a long, long time. So it's interesting for species that are declining. It's interesting to be able to help track that or to confirm that things are still around.
What do you think, if you were a kid, what are some of the things that you might suggest kids like start learning about?
Well, my suggestion usually for kids is to not worry so much about the science part, because for me, citizen is the other part of citizen science. And it's just should be part of people can allow it to be part of their lives just to engage with the natural world. So especially if kids have a little bit of extra time now, just getting to know the plants and animals around them and learning that as a source of not just like something you have to learn because somehow you'll be a better person for knowing it, but because you'll enjoy knowing what you're looking at. So I would suggest to kids to go out into the yard and collect a leaf from every tree. And if your parents can help you identify those trees by the leaves, that's great. Make a list of the trees in your yard. If your parents can't help identify them, look at iNaturalist or something. If you have a book that tells what trees are, look in there. But so, trees are big, they don't move fast. Most people have some, if not in their own yard, up and down the block where they live. And that's it's just a good feeling to know what's around you.
It's very surprising how many different living creatures live in the same place that I call home. My same address is the same address for a lot of different living creatures. So it's kind of surprising how many of us call this place home.
Absolutely. When from looking again, you look out your window and you see birds, and most people know what a robin is if they see it. But if you don't know what a robin is, pay attention to the birds and find the one that's kind of orangey red in the front and has a, darker head and a yellow bill, and watch what they do for a while and learn the difference between a robin and a cardinal and the difference between a cardinal and a mourning dove. And pretty soon, you have the 10 birds that you can see out your window anytime you look.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Rob has given us a lot of good ideas about what citizen science really is. He also gave us a really great suggestion about getting to know the plants and animals in our very own backyards. And I'm going to do just that. I'm going to do something called a backyard BioBlitz. Now, if you're interested in doing something similar, you might look at www.kidsinparks.com/blog/backyard-bioblitz. It is a really good source of information. But essentially, what a backyard BioBlitz is a chance to get in your yard and catalog all of the plants and animals that you find there in a particular time, like maybe in one day. Now, you might be asking yourself, how am I going to know what all the plants and animals are? Well, I have a few resources that might come in handy for you. Let's go take a look. My first suggestion for you is to talk with the people you live with. A lot of times, your parents, your brothers and sisters, your grandparents, they know a lot about the animals and plants in your yard. My second suggestion is books. Now, I love a good book. And books that help you identify plants and animals are called field guides. And I happen to have a few. I brought Forest Trees of Illinois, along with A Natural History of Trees, which tells you a lot of information about the trees in your yard. I brought this book on wildflowers. Now, it's a folklore and history book, but these two books by Audubon are great field guides. They have a lot of pictures, and they also have a lot of identifying information to help you say, yep, that's what I'm looking at. This book is probably my favorite. It's a field guide to the birds of North America. And this oldie but goodie is called Prairie Plants of Illinois. These books are great resources. Another thing that would be helpful in identifying things is a pair of binoculars. Now, binoculars let you see things that are far away as if they're up close. And for birds and some other animals and insects, they don't like you getting too close. So a pair of binoculars helps you sort of be sneaky in looking at their feather patterns, the patterns on their shells, whatever it is that you want to see up close, binoculars can help you. Now, these things happen to be things I had at home, but if you don't have them at home, no problem. We have them for you at the Urbana Free Library, and you're welcome to come and check them out. Another great resource is a phone, a computer, a tablet. These things also have identification sites on them that are really useful. You might try to check those out. Once you've identified as many species as you can, you want to be able to track that information and share it with other people. That's what citizen science is all about. Rob told us about a couple of great resources to do just that. He mentioned iNaturalist.org. He also talked about eBird.org. And the third one he mentioned was beespotter.org. These are great places to compile all the information that you have seen, along with other citizens who are also looking at identifying mammals, plants, birds. All of that information gets gathered together and we can share it and know a whole lot more together than we could just as an individual. Citizen science. I hope that you're able to do that, and I hope you're able to have as much fun doing a backyard BioBlitz as I'm about to have.